The book, Peter, James, and Jude, is important partly because Peter, James, and Jude were more important than they seem. Let me expand upon that just a bit. We have a lot of Paul. In fact, if a person today is trying to do a thesis on Paul, they often are looking around for a year or two to try and find something that hasn't been studied. But if you go back to the first century, you discover that the big guys were not Paul, at least not in the middle of the first century. They were Peter, they were James, and Jude is the brother of James, or at least that's how he identifies himself. So here you have two big voices from the first century. Big voices, whether they're being produced by a, so to speak, ghostwriter, or whether you were hearing them themselves, probably the actual grammar and so on that we're hearing is from their assistants. But you're hearing the voices of the first century, which are, the way I would put it, not Paul. John has already been covered in another volume in this series. I get to cover these other important voices, equally important to Paul. In fact, in some ways, I would say more important than Paul. Why? Because a book like James is very close to the teaching of Jesus. If Jesus is the center of our faith, then the voice of James needs to be heard, as we could say, second to Jesus, because you see him applying Jesus to real church situations. Now, what makes this particular book a different way of looking at it? Well, first of all, it puts them together. It puts these voices together so that you can see that there are similarities and differences, that they're not the same voice, but they are overlapping voices. And that's one distinctive. Secondly, it allowed me to take the work which I had done in writing commentaries on each of these works, and I have at least two commentary type works out on every one of them, and to put it into a more of a narrative flow, and that's your, so to speak, narrative commentary, without going into the details. The details could be seen by the footnotes, which will tell you often look at some of my earlier work on it, and to then take the results of that narrative flow, which in itself will be enough for many people, say, preaching or teaching or working with these works, and synthesize them together for each book and then together for the books as a whole, as what do these mean for theology? Yesterday I was talking about the theology proper of James. And I pointed out that James has an emphasis on Jesus as judge, not exactly a very popular stress of the church today, but a voice that needs to be heard. He is the judge of the second coming. James has a stress on God as the one who only gives good things. Again, it's a voice that needs to be heard when we're building up our overall picture of God. And so this gave me the opportunity to put that material together, as well as, since I've written the commentaries over a period of 20, 30 years, to give my latest thoughts, so to speak, on some of the topics involved. So it synthesizes, it puts it all in one place, it makes it accessible for the person interested in biblical theology, and it also updates.